The Fort McKay First Nation is a First Nations government in northeast Alberta comprising 5 Indian reserves: Fort McKay 174, Fort McKay 174C, Fort McKay 174D, Namor Lake 174B and Namor River 174A. The FMFN, signed to Treaty 8, is affiliated with the Athabasca Tribal Council and its members are of Cree and Dean heritage. The FMFN's traditional lands include portions of the Athabasca oil sands. History: the Cree expanded steadily westward from the Hudson-James Bay country, although the arrival of the Cree in the Lac La Biche region is unknown. Archaeological evidence in the form of pre-contact pottery indicates that the Cree were in this region in the 1500s. The historic Voyager Highway, the traditional land of the Fort McKay First Nation, was on the historical Voyager route that linked the rich Athabascan region to Hudson Bay. David Thompson and George Simpson used the fur trade route via the Beaver River from the main Methi portage route that reached the Athabasca River. The Cree, one of the largest tribes in Canada, were referred to by the early explorers and fur traders as Christano, Kinistano, Kilistan, Cree, Chris and various other names such as Natathaway. Cree territory extended west from the Hudson-James Bay region to the foot of the Rocky Mountains, and in Alberta, between the north banks of the North Saskatchewan River to Fort Chipewyan. This includes the Beaver, Athabasca and Peace River basins. It is noted in the Department of Indian Affairs annual reports that PICIS of the Lac La Biche band as far north as Great Slave Lake. Alexander Mackenzie, who traveled from Montreal to the Arctic Ocean via the Methi portage, provided a detailed account of the Kinistano in 1789. Tribal Council. The Athabasca Tribal Council represents the interests of Fort McKay First Nation, Athabasca Chipewyan First Nation, Chipewyan Prairie First Nation, Fort McMurray No. 468 First Nation and Mikisew Cree First Nation. These 5 First Nations of northeastern Alberta include more than 5,000 Cree and Dean people. Treaty 8 was an agreement signed on June 21, 1899, between Queen Victoria and various First Nations of the Lesser Slave Lake area. The treaty was signed just south of present-day Gruard, Alberta. The land covered by Treaty 8, 840,000 square kilometers, is larger than France and includes northern Alberta, northeastern British Columbia, northwestern Saskatchewan and a southernmost portion of the Northwest Territories. Adhesions to this agreement were signed that same year on July 1 at Peace River Landing, July 6 at Dunvegan, July 8 at Fort Vermilion, July 13 at Fort Chipewyan, July 17 at Smith's Landing, July 25 and 27 at Fond du Lac, August 4 at Fort in McMurray, and August 14 at Wabasca Lake. Further adhesions were in 1900 on May 13 at Fort St. John, June 8 at Lesser Slave Lake, June 23 at Fort Vermilion and July 25 at Fort Resolution. Traditional land use. Hunting and trapping is an integral part of the traditional livelihoods for many Fort McKay residents. Therefore, natural ecosystems and wildlife populations preservation is an important component to help maintain a healthy community. The FMFN expressed concerns about cumulative effects and requested that regulators implement the recommendations in the terrestrial ecosystem management framework in order to maintain wildlife populations. In a letter to the Alberta Environment and Sustainable Resource Development Regulatory Approval Centre regarding the Teck Resources Limited's proposed Frontier Oil Sands Mine project on FMFN traditional lands, the FMFN stressed that beaver, moose and wood bison are 3 of the most important species of great importance to the FMFN. Other key resources indicators to consider in assessing the effects on wildlife of oil sands development in the territory include black bear, fisher, Canada lynx, northern goshawk, yellow rail, short-eared owl, common nighthawk, olive-sided flycatcher, Canada warbler, rusty blackbird, waterfowl and western toad. Environment. The Frontier Mine is a major surface mining project with a total project footprint of 24,140 hectares and with a 50-year operational life extending from approximately 2020 to 2070, including final closure and reclamation. Closure activities are proposed to be coordinated with the nearby Chelpierre River Mine project located immediately south. Groundwater. FMFN expressed concern about the degradation of the McMurray basal water sands aquifer through high-volume use through the mining process. The hydrogeologic sequence is typical of the mineable area west of the Athabasca River and is comprised of the following units from oldest to youngest. 1. The eroded top of the Devonian sequence, which includes the Slave Point and Waterways formations, and in the RSA the Devonian section includes both aquifers and aquatards. The Waterways underlies the project in the LSA. 2. The McMurray Formation, which contains bitumen. Portions of the lower McMurray are water-saturated, where present. The basal aquifer appears to be non-saline. There are also water-bearing lenses of sand within the ore body. 3. The Clearwater Formation, composed of shale and siltstone. In places the Wabasca sand of the lower Clearwater also contains bitumen. 4. Quaternary sediments including undifferentiated glacial deposits and buried channels and glacial surficial deposits. And 5. Post-glacial fluvial fan deposits containing permeable saturated sand. Dover Moose Lake Oil Sands SAGD project. The Fort McKay First Nation requested a 20-kilometer no-development zone on part of the oil sands leases near its traditional lands at Moose Lake. On 6 August 2013, Alberta energy regulators denied the FMFN appeal, arguing that the Dover oil sands project using steam-assisted gravity drainage technology development would have little impact on FMNN lands. On October 18, 2013, on Friday, Justice Franz Slatter of the Alberta Court of Appeal gave Fort McKay First Nation leave to appeal the AR's August 6 approval of the Athabasca Oil Corporation's 250,000 barrel per day thermal oil sands project. Dover. The Fort McKay First Nations lawyer, Karen Buss, predicts that the new panel might order the regulator to start its process over with direction to consider treaty rights issues identified by the ban. Citations.